There was a girl who lived across from my apartment. I didn't know her name at first, only that she sat by her window every morning, holding a mug of tea, watching the world with eyes that looked both too young and too tired. I'd see her every day before work. I was 35, a journalist buried in deadlines and loneliness, and she became this quiet, constant presence, a stranger who somehow made my mornings feel less empty. She lived on the third floor of the old brick building across the street, the one with peeling paint and geraniums in the window bucks. Every morning, she'd open the curtains, lift her face to the light, and smile faintly. Not at anyone, not at anything. Just at life, I guess. And then one day, she disappeared. A week passed, then two. No light from her window, no tea mug, just silence. Then, one rainy night, a small envelope slipped under my door. No return address. My name written in shaky cursive. Inside was a letter. To the man who watches from across the street. You don't know me, but I see you too. Every morning. You look like someone who carries too much weight on his shoulders. I used to be like that. If I disappear one day, don't worry. I'm not gone. I'm just learning to live somewhere quieter, somewhere my heart can breathe again. Thank you for being the silent proof that kindness can exist without words. I sat there for hours, reading and rereading those words. How could she know so much? About me? About herself? When we'd never even spoken? I wanted to find her, but how do you search for someone who never told you their name? The next morning, I walked across the street. The landlord, an elderly man named Mr. Patel, was sweeping the hallway. "The girl in 3B, I said. Do you know where she went?" He frowned. "She moved out. Hospital, I think. Cancer, poor thing. Her brother came, took her things." Something inside me broke. "Do you know her name?" He hesitated, then said softly, Leela Monroe. That name felt like a whisper I'd always known. I spent hours online searching for her. Nothing. No recent photos, no records, no social media. Just an old blog from years ago. Letters from Leela, filled with posts about kindness, loss, and the quiet strength of ordinary people. Her last post was dated 3 months ago. Sometimes we meet people we'll never speak to, but somehow they change us anyway. It took me 2 weeks to find her. I called every hospital in the city until I heard her name at St. Helena's oncology ward. When I arrived, the nurse gave me a strange look. "Are you family?" "Just someone who cares," I said. They let me in. She was thinner than I expected, her hair gone, her smile smaller. But it was her, the girl from the window. She looked up as I entered. "You came," she said softly. I froze. "You knew I'd come?" "I hoped you would," she said, her voice weak but warm. "I left you that letter because I looked like someone who needed to remember there's still good in the world." I sat beside her, unsure whether to laugh or cry. "I should have said something. All those mornings." She smiled faintly. "You did say something. Every time you waved from your window, every time you looked up. You made me feel less invisible." We sat in silence, the beeping of machines filling the room. Finally, she said, "Can I tell you a secret?" I nodded. "I used to be a dancer, until the illness took my legs. But in my head, I still dance every morning. That's why I sat by the window. It made me feel like I was moving again." My throat tightened. And then she added, I thought if someone saw me, it meant I still existed. Over the next few months, I visited her often. We talked about everything: childhood dreams, lost time, regrets. She made me laugh more than anyone ever had. She had this way of turning pain into poetry, sorrow into something sacred. One day, she said, "Promise me something." "Anything," I said. "If I go before you do, and I probably will, promise me you won't remember me as the girl who was sick. Remember me as the girl who waved at life, even when life didn't wave back." I swallowed hard. "I promise." She smiled. "Good, because that's how I remember you, the man who still showed up." That was the last time I saw her alive. A month later, I got another letter, this one from her brother. "Dear Mr. Turner, my sister Leela passed peacefully last week. She asked me to send you this envelope after she was gone. She said you'd understand." Inside was a folded piece of paper and a small silver key. The letter read, "For the man across the street. There's a music box in my old apartment window. Use the key. It still plays, though the song is faint. When you hear it, don't be sad. It's just me dancing again." A year later, I published a book, The Girl by the Window. It wasn't a tragedy. It was a love letter to life, to quiet connections, to unseen acts of grace. The final line read, "Some people pass through our lives like whispers, soft, brief, unforgettable. And when they go, they leave behind the kind of silence that doesn't hurt, the kind that hums with love." At the book's launch, an older woman came up to me, tears in her eyes. "I knew Leela," she said. "She danced at our community center before she got sick. She used to say, 'Even if my legs stop, my heart won't.'" We hugged, both of us crying, strangers bound by someone who refused to be invisible. Sometimes, late at night, I open my window and listen, and if the city is quiet enough, I swear I can still hear that faint, broken tune drifting from somewhere across the street. It's Leela, reminding me that love doesn't die, it just changes form. That kindness doesn't fade, it echoes. And that some stories, they don't end. They stay in your heart forever.